For the years we have heard,
police is your friend.
These days, the police say,
now we protect with courage and serve with compassion.
Hi, my name is Kemi Ashiko. Join me every Wednesday morning at 9:05 a.m. on CitizenFM 93.7 for Police and Citizens, an opportunity for citizens to interface with the members of the police force. Your suggestions, commendations, comments, and complaints will be taken on the show. Do make it a date. Every Wednesday morning, 9:05 a.m. Police and Citizens is the show. Don't miss it.
Thank you for staying tuned. It's still Insight on Citizen FM 93.7. My name is Lawrence Moiti. On Insight today, as I said earlier, we are taking a look at the National Assembly elections coming up next year at the national and the state level. At the national level, the National Assembly elections will be coming up on February 28th with the presidential election. Then on March 11th, at the state level, we will have elections of the governors and that of the National Assembly members. So, but we are concerned about that arm of government, the legislative arm of government. And my guest today is Dr. Law Mefo, who is a forensic and social psychologist. He's also a teacher, a journalist, a public policy analyst, and media and communication strategist, and so on and so on. Welcome to Insight, Dr. Mefo.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting me. Good morning, Nigerians.
It's good to have you again after a long spell.
I've been out of town.
Okay, Dr. Mefo, I am aware that you are familiar with the operations of the National Assembly, the runnings of the National Assembly, and apart from that, also you're also familiar with the issues of elections and stuff like that.
Yes.
But before I go, I want us to take let us look at a constitutional provision, since we are talking about the National Assembly. Now, for the National Assembly, the requirements for to become a member of the National Assembly, and Section 66 of the Constitution says a person shall be qualified for election as a member of this that's the Senate, if he's a Nigerian citizen and has attained the age of 35. And for the House of Representatives, if he's a citizen and has attained the age of 30. And such a person shall be qualified for election under this subsection if he has been educated to at least school certificate level and is also a member of a political party and is sponsored by the political party. And there are other requirement, but these are the basic requirements, and it's not very different from that of the state houses of assembly, apart from the age limit, which is 30. So that's the constitutional requirement. But Dr. Mefo, before we even go into this, let's look at the current legislature, both at the national and in the state level. What is your impression about them so far? It's almost 4 years now.
Well, the current legislature at the federal level down to the states. For me, it will be very hard to award more than a pass mark. You know, the French would say, comme ci, comme ça, not too good, not too bad. But that is the best. But if I have to be really critical and realistic about what is going on, I believe that much of the failing or failings being experienced by the Nigerian nation state at the moment, take their bearing from the ineffective and ineffectual National Assembly that we have. You see, so much depends on the legislature in formulating anchoring a democratic process. You see, in a presidential democracy, you have three arms of government: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, made to be composed by distinct individuals and to be in a position to check and balance one another. In other words, what you have to be sure that there is a democracy in place is a virile, effective legislature, because you need checks and balances. Why do you need checks and balances? By the very nature of the executive arm of government all over the world, the executive is tyrannical in nature, autocratic everywhere, even in the US, even in Britain. You know, it is tyrannical in nature. So you need a counter force. You need to counterbalance these dictatorial and tyrannical tendencies of the executive arm of government. And that is why you need the legislature. The legislature is actually the people themselves. The legislature, you know, is a platform where the entire people that constitute the country in question come together. And because the National Assembly cannot carry all of us, you know, at the same time discussing and contributing, it is impossible. So what we do is to elect representatives. In other words, that National Assembly you see is composed by representatives of all parts, all shades of the Nigerian nation state. For the Senate, you have 109 senators. You know, we use the process you call, you know, what you call a state equality in nominating 3 senators to the National Assembly, regardless of the population of the states. So a place like Yobe, a place like Bayelsa, you know, made up of, Bayelsa is still made up of less than 1 million people, but they have 3 senators compared to a place like Lagos and Kano with perhaps 20 million people, you know, plus. So you can see it's a principle applied, you know, in our own situation. But where the differential is compensated is when it comes to the House of Representatives. That the federal constituencies are delineated to reflect the population. In other words, places like Lagos and Kano would have more representatives in the House of Reps than places like Yobe and Bayelsa, and so on and so forth. This background laid, the point I'm trying to make is that every part of the country is represented, and amongst themselves, they now elect their own leaders, what you call body of principal officers. In the House of, in the Senate, the Red Chamber, you have the Senate President, and in the House of Representatives, you have the Speaker, and here you have Dr. Lawan in the Senate, and Barrister Brajabe Amila in the House of Representatives as the Senate President and Speaker respectively. Now, the job of the legislature, like I said, essentially 3 points, 3 things the legislature must do. One is what we call a representation, to ensure that indeed every section of Nigeria is represented, you know, in terms of you know, making the laws and so on and so forth, and you know, representation that we are all on the same table, and being part of the policy formulation, and so on and so forth. And then the second reason you have the legislature, you know, is lawmaking. You need to make the laws. You know, Nigeria is not an organic country. By that I mean Nigeria is a nation created by law. Because you're created by law, you have to work according to the laws. It is the job of the National Assembly and the state assemblies to ensure that these laws are maintained and reformed from time to time, and areas not contemplated by the Constitution and other extant regulations, you know, brought to bear. And then finally, of course, you have what you call the oversight. Oversight here means that you want to be sure that those laws you make are really implemented. You want to ensure that the money that you have approved, is implemented according to the purpose clause, for which they were appropriated in the first place. These are the three essential reasons why you have the legislative arm of government. In other words, if you see the basic function of the legislature as mentioned as oversight, if you look at oversight as a fundamental function of the legislature, it means that the legislature is there to oversight the executive arm of government. And as a matter of fact, oversight as well the judicial arm of government. So that's why I cite that the quintessence of the principle of the separation of powers as contemplated by men like philosophers like Montesquieu and others, is to ensure that the destiny of the people is not entrusted into the hands of a single individual. That is the beauty of democracy, is to maintain checks and balances and ensure that there is no tyranny, there is no dictatorship, there is no autocracy. Now, if this is theoretically the assumption, to what extent has the current National Assembly been able to do this? I think, the perception of the National Assembly leadership of their function is faulty ab initio. And I'll tell you why in a nutshell. You see, the Senate President, Senator Ahmed Lawal, once said that the president of the country means well, and whatever he brings to the National Assembly, we receive approval because it is good for the country. You can't take that position as the chairman of National Assembly and the president of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In other words, Lawan is carrying on with the National Assembly as if it is a rubber stamp. And this has actually culminated in the problem we have at the moment. There are several things going on in Nigeria at the moment that should not be going on at the moment if the National Assembly is up to its responsibility.
Okay, Dr. Mefa, we'll come to all those later. But let's start from the recruitment process, because we're looking at the next set of lawmakers.
Yeah.
Now, from the recruitment process, are we as a nation, do we take into consideration that electing lawmakers are different from electing people who are going for executive position, the governorship, for example? Does this reflect on
there is confusion everywhere. If you look at how Nigerians look at the functions of the legislators, you see that they have mixed it up with the functions of the executive.
Exactly.
Nigerians expect the senators, the honorable members, to build roads, build bridges, build markets and all that. That is an executive function. And it's because of this confusion in appreciation of the fundamental roles of members of the executive arm and that of the legislature that has led to what you call the advent of constituency projects. The legislators now have to fight for constituency projects to be inserted, something they can show to their constituencies and their constituents that this is what they have been able to bring to them. That is why you can see legislators flaunt what they say that they attracted to their constituencies. They are not talking about the number of laws they were able to inspire.
Or the quality.
Or the quality of the laws they were able to inspire. They've not talked about the number of motions. They've not talked about checks and balances. They've not talked about oversight responsibilities. They are struggling with the executive in trying to convince that the people that they are up and doing. The job they are focusing on is not their job. Their statutory responsibility is to make good laws and ensure that those laws are actually implemented. So, you can see that our approach so far is aberrant in nature. It's an aberration because he has not been able to release the legislature to be able to address itself squarely to the fundamental requirements, of that office. And that is why I said that they have observed most of these extant rules and regulations in breach, and something has to be done to get them to regain perspective.
Oh, okay, Dr. Mefo, is this a societal problem? If it is, how do we reinvent the wheel, so to speak?
It's certainly a societal problem. Democracy, presidential democracy particularly, is relatively new in Nigeria. When it was first introduced, in 1979, it was truncated after 4 years under President Usman Aliu Shehu Shagari and Kwame as vice president. So it's a societal problem, and people are here to understand the need for delineation of offices. So once you are in government, nobody cares, what role you are supposed to be playing. They want you to bring something home, and that is a fundamental problem. And this has put this undue and unwarranted expectations on the part of the citizens. Have actually put very serious pressure on government officials, especially the legislators, because they have to go out of their way to try to satisfy the yearnings of the people who elected them and from who they are going to seek re-election. It's a very fundamental problem, and it has to be addressed.
Is this also an indictment, so to speak, on the executive branch of government? Because if facilities are provided, roads are done, hospitals are built, and all those kind of things, there may not be that expectations for lawmakers to provide them.
Well, what the lawmakers are trying to do is to share executive responsibilities. And of course, government and governance is a continuum. It's not, there is no way you can solve all the problems of a people overnight. Even in the US and Britain, the governance is still very, very important. They are renewing even the infrastructure they have. And it means that even the infrastructure you put on the ground today, in the next 5 to 10 years, they need renewal, organizational renewal. And things get obsolete also. You need to upgrade them and bring them to par, to be in sync with current realities. It's not really an executive problem. It's a societal, conceptual problem. And we can't say that the government is not doing enough, because that is not really the issue here. Government certainly is not doing enough, or there is always room for improvement. But it is not, even if government is doing enough, the legislators will still fight to be part of that doing enough, so as to be able to lean on such achievements to drive home the need for them to get re-election.
Dr. Mefo, why I'm saying this is that even during campaigns, if you listen to some of the lawmakers, they are looking at the realities of the situation of their constituencies. For example, a lawmaker that represents a constituency that is in dire need of a general hospital or of school will most likely capitalize on this deficiency to put his election campaigns forward. If these things are taken for granted, the lawmakers may not necessarily. You cannot come and tell your constituency that
obviously. Yeah, you cannot. No, you have a point there, because you can't talk about building another bridge if I'm seeing one. So certainly, dearth of infrastructure and other problems of underdevelopment will always highlight and heighten the need for more to be done by government. And again, you say, government is here to really reach the people. And it was Obasanjo in 1979 that brought in a creative way of having this done by introducing local governments in Nigeria. local governments in the current dispensation, have been done away with. There is no local government system anymore. Because what you have in the local government, they are just administrative units.
To pay salaries.
But the contemplation of the Constitution is that a local government is a tier of government. It's a third tier of government. It has constitutionally delineated duties. But the same constitution created what we call the JAC account. JAC account, joint account, operated between the local government and states, with the governor as the chairman. That is what, validated local government system in the country. Because what the governors did, it was to pounce on the money. And without money, you can't do anything. Because all these constituency projects, they are all local government projects. And, it's the absence of local government system in Nigeria, that has led to the lacuna that the legislators are trying to fill. So, if you want to reduce the incursion of the legislators into the executive responsibilities, you must fully restore local government operations in Nigeria.
All right. If you are just joining us, this is Insight on Citizen FM 93.7, and we are discussing the expectations from the new set of lawmakers next year. What are the requirements? What are your expectations? How do we take a second look at the recruitment process, the kind of people we expect to be our lawmakers, both at the national and the state level? And my guest has been Dr. Law Mefo, who is a clinical psychologist, a social psychologist, a forensic social psychologist, and also a public policy analyst, a media and communication strategist, all rolled into one. Insight will take a short break. We will return in a moment. Please don't go away.
Tech Talk with Mina, bringing you news updates on digital technology around us every Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 12. Citizens Tech Talk with Mina, expanding our global reach through technology.
Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. Most times, people commit one offense or the other due to ignorance and negligence. Some get into one trouble or the other out of ignorance. Wheel of Hope, a human rights advocacy program on Citizens FM 93.7 Abuja, is here to educate you on issues that relate to your fundamental human rights, tenancy agreements, contractual issues, next of kin, and many more. Jide Abdulaziz and his team of legal luminaries will be treating issues that have been giving you stress by providing mediation, intervention, arbitration, and many more. Every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. on Citizen 93.7 FM Abuja. Wheel of Hope will improve your citizenship responsibility. Wheel of Hope Human Rights Program on 93.7 Citizen FM. The voice for the voiceless and the oppressed. Don't miss it.
Thank you for staying tuned. It's still Insights on Citizen FM 3.7. My name is Lawrence Umoite, and I have Dr. Law Mefo, a social psychologist, a forensic social psychologist, and also a public media analyst, and also a social critic, an author, and a journalist. He's and we are taking a look at expectations of the lawmakers as election gathers momentum ahead of next year's election. Dr. Mefo, when you were talking, you dropped some hints about how the state governments have virtually taken over the joint account, local government account. That brings to fore again the relationship between the state assemblies and the governors. It's basically a relationship of master-servant in the states. Why is this so?
There is no state legislature, as a matter of fact. I don't know where it exists in Nigeria. And the reason is simple.
That bad?
It is that bad. There is no state legislature at that level. You can talk about legislature at the federal level, and it makes a bit of sense. But once you get to states, they are all creations of the governors. So they are not there, they are not in a position to perform the function of a legislative assembly as contemplated by the 1999 Constitution, as amended. Because for you to be able to check and balance power, you should be talking from a position of authority, a position of independence, a position of, having a mind of your own, and some level, some ambience from where you can advance a position. But if you check the Constitution, the recruitment of the state legislators, you will see that they are all more often than not handpicked by the incumbent governors. And how does this happen? It happens during an election, what you call political party primaries, for the constitution of the state assemblies. The governors give tickets to who they want and fund their campaigns. This is what essentially happens. And when they emerge, the same governors also decide who should be the principal officers. This is what has been going on in virtually, in fact, every state of the federation. And that is why they are not in a position to check, the governors, because there is what we call piper syndrome in journalism. Who pays the piper dictates the tune. So if you allow such a process to persist and produce the occupants of the legislative assemblies in Nigeria, you do not expect them to stand up to the same governors that produce them. That's what's going on. And you see, if you check, there's what we call a financial autonomy enjoyed by the National Assembly. The state assemblies do not enjoy any financial autonomy yet. It means that they are not on the first line charge. And not being on the first line charge, ties them as to the apron of the state executive, who indeed is just a single man, the governor. Even the deputies don't have any role. They are less than spare tires in this consideration. So in the states, what you have is you have emperors, czars, as governors. So since they have produced the state assemblies, who are their lackeys and control their funds, because the state assemblies are not on first line charge. What that means is that what they say is what will happen, because two factors are already having an overarching influence. One is that they produced the people in the house, they produce their leadership, and they are holding their money. A National Assembly is a bit different, because the National Assembly is on first line charge. They were able to extricate themselves from because the same thing applied, in the federal until under, I don't know whether it was Saraki or under Mark. I think it was under David Mark that they were able to pull out the National Assembly and have them placed on first line charge. In other words, the National Assembly enjoys financial autonomy. The states do not. And again, the people who constitute the National Assembly, a number of them, especially when you get to the level of the Senate, many of them are fairly independent. The way they emerged, many of them bought their way, fought their way, bulldozed their way, so they are not.
They are rich.
That's what I mean by buying their way. And that is, they bought their way, bulldozed their way. These are facts. So we cannot say that they are products of governance as such.
Just a minute, Dr. Mefo. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Morning, Mr. Lawrence.
Good morning.
Yeah, please, quickly, I have three things to chip in. Number one.
Your name, please, and where you're calling from.
Okay, yes, I'm ID Noble from Olozo.
All right, okay, ID, please go ahead.
Yes, the first one is I quite appreciate the guest in the studio. Really, I've learned a lot from him. But then I would have preferred a situation whereby he's putting in how to solve this problem, because the way
we are coming to that, my brother.
Okay, that's number one. Number two, please, I want to see CitizenFM, because I see that you people are rolling out new programs. You are not having anything on Greek and entrepreneurship. Please, I want you to
it's in the offing. Very soon we are going to unveil that.
Please, I am begging you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ida. Thank you for calling. Yes, the number to call is 0903 222 9797. That's 0903 222 9797. Or you can also call us on 0808 2222 037. Or you can, I think we have a caller here. Let's take this first. Yes. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, CitizenFM.
Good morning. Who's on the line, please?
This is Mr. David calling from Asoko.
All right, David, please go ahead.
Yes, the guest has spoken very well, and he has nailed what we are aiming for. The issue is that once it is a governor that will decide this is the person that will become a speaker, that means he has already overturned. Nothing will happen, and anything he's saying that this is what I want to do, they will just go ahead and do it for him. The same thing happened in the federal level. Look at what when President Buhari sent Lawal and Bajami Amila for the Speaker and the Senate. And that is the same thing, because anything the presidency brings that is what to do, they will not check and balance. They will not check. They will just go ahead. Even there are some things that governor will do warrant to impeach him, but because he's the one that decided that this is the person who will be our speaker, there's no way, because you cannot, somebody that brings you out, you cannot fight him. Thank you, that is my stake.
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you.
Yes, you see, I thank the last two callers. They've made my case even brighter. You see, I use the Piper syndrome to illustrate what has happened to state assemblies. The state assemblies are just there, to fulfill all righteousness and not to do anything. The laws the governors want passed, that is what eventually happens. And over 90% of the laws passed by state assemblies are executive bills. You can check the record. The executive bills. When you say executive bills, these are bills introduced by the governor via the Attorney General of the state. That's the simple truth. So you discover that most of them are just there warming the bench, collecting their allowances and their salaries just to fill that space, and not to really make any difference.
Okay, Dr. Mefo, elections are coming up in the next 8 months. Let's rewind. Let's start from the basis. What are the first steps to do if we want to change the current scenario?
Leadership recruitment process is a very fundamental issue here. I am afraid that not much will change. I say so because what we really produce genuine people representatives is what we call internal party democracy. That is still not there. By that I mean what you call direct nomination of candidates by members of a political party. This is not what you get at the moment. What you have is an electoral college where the political party tickets are auctioned from councillor to president. They are auctioned by political parties. In other words, they don't care what the people want. They don't care about what are the yearnings and aspirations of the members of such political parties. What the parties use election cycles to do, deploying their primaries, is to raise money, to run the political parties, and to enrich the political party leaders. That is what is going on. So they are not particularly interested in a way that the flag bearers represent the wishes, yes, the wishes of the people who are the members of the political party. In other words, once the members of the political parties are not in a position to produce the candidates, you already having a problem there. Because in the general elections, you will now be condemned to choose from the people they choose for you. That is a very major problem. And in this election cycle, that is what has happened. In the current electoral amendment, the president refused to assent. He sent the bill back to the National Assembly. And why did he send it back? It's because the bill recommended direct primaries, which for me is the irreducible minimum in trying to install what you call internal party democracy. The president said that it's going to be expensive for certain political parties. But wait a minute. Was the president saying he is not aware that 3 of the delegates are elected at the ward level? Is it not the same election? So why don't you elect at that level? But you elect 3 delegates that will now join the other statutory delegates to now elect the flag bearer. Do you see where the problem is? Once you do that, you have created an electoral college where they go to trade. It becomes an auction platform where people who have the highest amount of money are buying the tickets. This is what has happened. It was even more obscene at the presidential level. Remember Issa Hayatou, he withdrew from the PDP presidential election. And he told us why. He said that the auction is too obscene, that he will not be part of it. Peter Obi ran away also. He said that this is going to be an auction. He doesn't want to be part of it. And records are there that both the PDP and APC auctioned their tickets. APC's case is so pathetic that when Tinubu bought the ticket, they now realize
it was elected by delegates.
That it was an auction. Tinubu is not the only one that paid. Every person paid. In fact, let me tell you, do you know that even smaller parties, there is this little party that threw out former deputy governor of CBN of Central Bank, and I understand that their ticket also went for bidding $10, $100.
That may just be speculation.
That is why you are a journalist. My friend, go and investigate this. Go and find out from those who participated. That is what investigative journalism should be. We shouldn't just sit down and assume these things are all over the place. Put a lie to it by investigating it. Bring delegates here and let them tell you they didn't collect money. I have seen delegates who collected money. I have seen you were here all over the social media, a delegate who collected money, took part of his money to Motherless Babies Home. Did the police arrest him? Did anybody counteract his position? He said that this is part of what I got. I am giving to Motherless Babies Home. If what he did, if that money is not coming from the source he cited, what he did is a criminal offense. It's an actionable offense because he's criminalizing a process by saying that he was giving money whereas he was not giving money. Such a person is not in jail for the fact that he was not prosecuted despite displaying this money openly and in fact doing a Thanksgiving service with the money he got from the auction he participated in. It's enough to validate my position. So I challenge you on Citizen FM to put a lie to what that man did, displaying the money he got in the Motherless Babies Home and making it a media event. That said, let's concentrate on the issue at stake here. Leadership recruitment process is already having a problem. And that is why so many political parties are having an issue. The crisis of a Muslim ticket is stemming from it. They are trying to find a cure to, giving a ticket to Tinubu when they are not certain they can really win the election with him without pairing him with another Muslim.
Okay.
And you see, this is destroying even the constitutional provision of the country that is insisting on what you call inclusivity, to carry every section of the country along, to carry every cleavages and contours that define the Nigerian nation state along.
All right, let's take this call before we.
Mr. David that called back. Sorry, I just want to give one solution.
Okay, go ahead, David.
Part of the problem that we are having today that is deviling Nigeria is because of the decay of local government. If local government are empowered, given to participate and do all the bridges, the school, the primary health care and everything, if they have all the social amenities, will somebody be running from his local government to come to federal capital or to go to the state capital? But if they fix all these social amenities that poor man needs, all these things will not be arise. And bringing production to engage youth, that they will be productive. Nobody will care to go and carry arms to go and hit somebody. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Dr. Mefo, before we round off, we have barely 2 minutes to go. Now, you said getting back that the situation will be difficult for us as a nation to get back to the starting board because of the realities of our ground. Is it a hopeless situation?
Well, it's not. We have to make do with the people they have imposed on us, because all the candidates across board are not products of members of the political parties. They are products of the Electoral College, and the Electoral College votes, tickets were auctioned there. I stand to be contradicted. Since this is the case, we have to settle for, the best of the bad situation. That is the truth. And I also want that, you see, like Labour and P2B movement are just focusing on P2B as a person. If P2B wins, and has nobody in National Assembly, how is he going to rule? Nobody is looking at the legislature. Without a virile legislature, you will not have an effective executive. Doesn't matter how good the person is. And you can see the dismal performance of Labour in Osun, in Ekiti. It doesn't show that they are taking these levels of elections and positions seriously. In other words, at the end of the day, we may have to, Peter Obi's presidency may have to spend 2 to 3 years trying to even get the legislature to work with. So Nigerians will have to come down to reality and know that democracy has to be built from the foundation. You start from the words. Yeah, you have to be sure that there is democracy in states. You have to be sure that there is democracy, in the center. And the only way to ensure democracy is to have a virile, effective, independent legislative assemblies from local government through states to the federal.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, Dr. Mefo, for being our guest on the program.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for hosting me.
Well, that's how much we can take on Citizen FM on Insight today, Citizen FM 93.7, and our guest has been Dr. Law Mefo, a forensic and social psychologist, and we've been talking about members of the National Assembly at both the national and the state level. Now that elections are about 8 months away, what kind of candidates are we looking out for? And I think it's still a topic that will continue for a while until we have the election. So Insight will return tomorrow with another interesting topic when we bring you tomorrow. And subsequently, from next week, we will be zeroing in on some other issues that have to do with the elections coming up next year. So we'll leave it at that until tomorrow when we come with another edition. My name is Lawrence Moite. Have a beautiful day ahead.